What can you talk about the actual threat that the Pentagon doesn't seem to think is important?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked previously about Al Qaeda planning embassy attacks. Obviously, I've talked about they're planning an attack in Bamako in Mali. So this is another location in Africa where they're planning the attack. I don't want to give up everyone I know because, then you get into sourcing. Obviously, everyone I know I will pass to the U.S. government, especially the State Department. So I don't hold on to threat reporting. But it's just Al Qaeda has all these waves of attacks planned, okay? If you've read our October 7th Know Thy Enemy report, this all started with the Hamas attacks, right? That was one of Al Qaeda's planned attack, and we can talk more about that one later. So they have kind of like these waves against Israel. And then they have like waves against Europe, waves against us, waves to create the Islamic Caliphate, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of the African plotting, for example, is the waves to create the Islamic Caliphate. So the Islamic Caliphate is basically, obviously, Afghanistan, Syria. That's why they've trained a lot. What's going on right now? Iraq. They're in a dream world. They have India on it. And then it's like all of North Africa. And then in the future phase, it then goes up into Spain, right? Like in the olden days. So it's just all their plots they have in place to put into motion these elements. And so their embassy plots, for example, are they have some in Africa, and then they have some in Europe, and then they have some in the Middle East, all for a different purpose. The Middle East is to push us out for the caliphates. The Africa is to push us out for the caliphates. And then the Europe, right, is just to go after, and then that'll go in with the homeland attack too, but the Europe is just to target the U.S. for its involvement in the Middle East.
Do they have a priority list?
They don't exactly have a priority list. Like, they're all waves and some can be concurrent. What matters is how long it takes to train attackers, right? So the Hamas attacks was like less than 1,500 guys, right? They actually initially planned to train them from August 7th, 2022 to October 7th, 2022. They ended up pushing the attack a year, and so they ended up with more training, which helped the attackers because of Zawahiri's assassination. So then the U.S. homeland, for example, they want to use 1,000 terrorists, right? So that took time to put the 1,000 through the pipeline. Syria, they trained 10,000 terrorists to send to Syria. It takes time to put 10,000 terrorists through the pipeline, right? So it depends on the size and the camp capacity, and then the type of training, right? Are you putting them through suicide bomber training? That's its own camps, and that's about 20% of the camps they run. Are you putting them through advanced urban warfare? So it just depends on what camp you're going to. And then even some of the camps are broken down by ethnicity. Like, they might not put Libyans in the same camp as they put Somalians or Syrians. So some camps are broken down if you're Arab or not. So it really is just going to depend on those capacities.
These guys, I remember, I think it was you that posted a video of an Al Qaeda training camp, and it was almost like a display. It looked like a well done YouTube video of skills. Is that common?
Yeah, but that's a step down. So
that was really good.
That's Taliban. Those are the Taliban camps. So we can't get those kind of videos of the Al-Qaeda camps. As you can imagine, you can't even bring phones into the Al-Qaeda camps. So Al-Qaeda is even a level above those.
I mean, I'm going to overlay that video for the audience to see just how sharp these guys are getting. I mean, that's really good.
Well,
when I saw that, it scared the shit out of me.
Remember, their life is they train all the time.
Yeah.
So if that's all you're doing all day long, I mean, you're going to get really competent at it. And then they have different emotions behind it too, and different beliefs and the religion behind it too, which makes you more devout.
And then we had a little brief discussion about suicide, the invisible bomb vests downstairs. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that keep you up at night, right? When we're talking about the threats to the homeland, if you subscribe to the newsletter, Shawn Ryan's newsletter, go to Vigilance Elite.
So for everybody that doesn't know already, Sarah writes a weekly intelligence report, all things terrorism. It's in the Shawn Ryan Show newsletter. You can go to ShawnRyanShow.com. There's a sign-up link. It'll be in your inbox every Monday.
So we first talked about what they call the invisible bomb in the newsletter, and basically it was highlighted in December just this last December, and it was Al Qaeda's in the Arab Peninsula, so their branch in Yemen, right? And they basically were showing off. It's really interesting. The video got taken down right away. And then I think most people in the US didn't even see it. So like TSA completely ignored putting out the actual piece of the video that mattered. And so the big piece of the video was teaching terrorists how to make a bomb that goes through a magnetometer. So, you know, like most airports in the world, you don't have that weird hand scan thing. You just go through a random metal detector. So this bomb basically goes through the metal detector, okay? So they were showing it off then. Well, now Al-Qaeda's advanced and it's in a suicide vest. But the interesting part is it doesn't just go supposedly through the metal detector. They made it with components dogs aren't trained on to sniff. So if you say, okay, well, we'll up our security and put more dogs, Al-Qaeda's saying, well, we've defeated that too. And this is the type of vest they plan to use potentially in their homeland attack that's coming up. So it's very concerning because we aren't prepared for that. I mean, most of the buildings you go into, even if they have some sort of thing, it already defeats that.